Game one, Rangers, Ottawa Senators tonight. Lots of good sports happening, and a lot of Ranger fans are pumped up. And Joe Micheletti, we're pumped up to have him on the program as well this morning to preview the Rangers and talk some Rangers hockey, NHL Analyst, MSG Rangers, and NBCSN. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for a few minutes.
Okay, guys. Hi, Chris. Roger, how are you guys?
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Joe. And so the Rangers go from being maybe a lot of people thought maybe an underdog, slight underdog against Montreal. Now everyone kind of jumping on the Ranger bandwagon and calling them maybe heavy favorites going into this series against Ottawa. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't. There's 8 teams left in the playoffs, and I don't think you can go to any series and say one team is a heavy favorite, or you shouldn't. For sure, and especially with the way and the type of season that Ottawa has had. I mean, it's really been a remarkable turnaround for Ottawa, and people are going to find this out in the playoffs. They've gone from a team that was a year ago that was an extremely dangerous offensive team that gave up all kinds of high quality scoring chances and played kind of a run and gun style, and you didn't want to play that way against them, to a team that fired the coach, brought in Guy Boucher, who had been in the NHL in the past with Tampa Bay, and was coaching over in Europe. And he came in and totally changed the way they played with basically the same group of players. And they went from a team that defensively was not very good to a team that improved by about a half a goal a game, and just they play a very frustrating, determined defensive system that when the time is right, then they are very aggressive on the offensive side, and they've got some players that can still score. So there's a lot of different human interest stories that are driving the Ottawa Senators, from Clark MacArthur not playing for about 2 years to going to Florida in January to retire and deciding I got to give it one more chance because of all these concussion issues, and he scores the game winner in overtime to win the series against Boston for them, to Craig Anderson and everything he's done, his wife battling cancer and missing 2 months one stretch, and other times during the regular season as well, to be with her and still having an outstanding season, and his record against the Rangers in his career is really, really strong. So, there's a lot of different aspects to this series, and I will say this: I mean, I love the way the Rangers played in the first round. I mean, it was the best team that I'd seen out of them in a long time, and that's saying a lot because they've been really good the last number of years. I still give the edge to the Rangers, but I wouldn't give anybody. I wouldn't say anybody in the playoffs right now is a clear-cut favorite.
I was a little leery going in how Lundqvist would perform, because it wasn't a vintage Lundqvist during the regular season, but boy, he was absolutely brilliant against Montreal.
Well, he outplayed Carey Price, which is difficult to do because Carey Price, I believe, is regarded by an awful lot of people as the best goaltender in the world. And so I thought going into that series that Henrik Lundqvist would have to be at least play close to what Carey Price was going to do. And then I just felt that the Rangers' overall depth was better than Montreal, and they'd win the series on that. But as it turns out, Lundqvist was better, not by much, but he was better than Carey Price. And he's just, he's a remarkable person, and he's a remarkable athlete. I've said this many, many times before, but of all the hockey players I've been around throughout my life, he is the most competitive person that I've seen on a day-to-day basis. Games are one thing, but to see him in practice every day, watch what he does and how he prepares, and even though he's 35, I mean, he put on an unbelievable performance in the first round.
Hey, Joe, Chris Honorato here with Roger as well. You're around this team as much as anybody, and I don't know if you'd agree with this statement, but back to 2014, felt like the Rangers were maybe a year ahead of schedule, but we know how quickly these championship windows can close. How much room is there between the bottom of the window and the sill itself for this Rangers franchise?
Well, I would say this. I mean, there's, this core group of players that that we've been around for the last 6, 7, 8 years. That includes Girardi and Stahl and Stepan and McDonough, and you can add a few more. They've obviously gotten older. I think what's been a revelation this year is that Jeff Gorton, the general manager, and the rest of his people went out and they made a few moves in the off season. The team got younger, and then the emergence of some players to become key players on this team has really been evident as well. And you look at J.T. Miller, the type of season that he had. I don't think people expected him to make the jump this year that he's made. And I think that I think he's going to be front and center in this next round. I don't think he was all that healthy against Montreal. And Brady Shea on defense, and the way McDonough played. McDonough had 2 weeks of hockey that I think were the best he's ever played for the Rangers. So yes, to a certain extent, especially with Henrik Lundqvist at age 35, and the last thing on his resume that he wants is a Stanley Cup. But you also have to look at what they did. Now, Zibanejad, the trade for Brassard, that's going to be an interesting matchup as well, because Brassard, led their team in the first round with 8 points, and as we know, he's a playoff performer. But Zibanejad came on the last couple of games, and he's about 6 years younger. So I think you have to look at that youth, and then be and certainly be feel good about where the team is going to continue to go. But there's no question that when you look at some of those players that we talked about that have been here for a while, that those years become more limited.
MSG and NBCSN NHL analyst Joe Micheletti with us here on Big Board Sports. Joe, can you explain to me how Carlson can be effective playing with a pair of hairline fractures in his left heel?
He is such an amazing player, and he missed 3 of the last 5 regular season games, and they had a game. I believe it was either Denver or Minnesota, right at the end as they're trying to get in the playoffs, and he was left home from that trip, and he got on a private plane and surprised everybody and flew there to play in the game. And he's such a remarkable athlete. I mean, he's about 180 pounds. And he's so strong. He's so difficult to hit, and he's already won 2 Norris trophies as the league's best defenseman. And he's had his best season this season. Better defensively, I believe he finished second in the league in block shots. And some of the plays that he's made in the playoffs this year, you just sit back and you go, "Wow, how can he make those types of plays? Either skating or passing or a combination." And he'll play just about half of every game, and he'll be a key factor. He's a special guy.
Hey, Joe, we had a good friend of yours on the program last week, and we like to consider him a good friend of ours as well. Hopefully he'd say the same, Dave Strader. And we know how tough Dave is going through what he is now in the fight he is putting up. But you are from International Falls, Minnesota, and I know this until this morning when I Googled it, that the nickname is Ice Box of the Nation. So you've got to be pretty tough, too. What is the coldest day you remember? Do you have a story from growing up in the coldest part of the United States?
Well, I'm one of nine kids, and I believe there were 7 of us that were born in International Falls, and the 8th and 9th were born in Hibbing, Minnesota, which is only 100 miles south of International Falls. And International Falls is right on the Canadian border, right across the river that runs through International Falls is Fort Francis, Ontario. So most of my memories, 100 miles south of there, the weather doesn't change much. You know what I mean? But I will say, I'll give you one quick story. When it really got to the depths of cold up there, where the temperature was minus 25 or 30, and then you had the wind chill that would bring it to minus 50 or so. We used to, my father, had to, he worked at a furniture store and had to make sure he got to work every day to support us. We would take turns. The first 6 kids in our family were boys, so we would take turns on those types of nights. We'd get up every 2 hours, and it would be our responsibility to go out and start up both my father's truck and the car and let them run for 15 or 20 minutes to make sure that in the morning that they would start. And this would be, I don't know if you guys know what a block heater is, but it's basically an electric cord that is connected to the engine, and you plug it into an electric outlet to help keep the engine warm as well. So when it would get that cold, we would take turns. My father would wake us up, and we'd go out and we'd start the cars for 15, 20 minutes and stay up and then turn them off, and I'd go back to bed and somebody else would do it 2 hours later. But that's how we dealt with the cold back in those days, and I don't miss it.
And that was in California. I would cut it. I wouldn't cut it.
As I'm looking out the window of palm trees here in Anaheim, I don't miss those days.
It's good stuff, Joe. Hey, just real quickly, what's the prediction from you on Rangers and Ottawa Senators?
Well, I think the Rangers are going to win the series. I think it's going to be a long series. There's too many things going on. Part of the thing that's inspiring Ottawa is if you guys go back 3 years ago when Marty St. Louis went through those personal difficult times when he lost his mother quickly and they were down 3-1 to Pittsburgh and came back and they win the series, and that was an inspiration, and they went on to, and so some of those things are going on with Ottawa, and when you get that kind of a spirit and you get everybody together, boy, it makes for a very tough out. So I believe the Rangers will win. I think the Rangers' depth with their third and fourth lines versus the third defense pairing for Ottawa will be an issue. And so I just think that the Rangers come through the series, but I just don't think it'll be easy. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series.
Fair enough, Joe. Hey, tell Sam Rosen we said hello. He has joined my programs, radio, in the past for many, many years. Great guy, great play-by-play guy. So tell Sam Rosen that Roger in Albany said hello.
Very good, guys. Great to be with you.